Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. One thing about these is I like to get you guys out on time because I know it is a lunch hour. So we're going to go ahead and get into the presentation. Like I said, if you don't feel comfortable having kind of like yourself being recorded, this is recording. We are putting it up on YouTube later just for anyone who wasn't able to come to this meeting directly. So they can go in and watch it later. So completely up to you. If any questions arise through this, feel free to pop them in the chat. We will have a time at the end for questions, but if it kind of is relevant to the moment, we'll discuss it. Then there are going to be times when I'm going to ask for participation. At those moments, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself, speak if you feel comfortable, or you can put it in the chat as well. So I do ask that, and it looks like everyone is muted, just so we don't get a bunch of like sound feedback in the recording. Sometimes that'll happen. And I'm going to go in and get started. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. We are coming at you from Rape Counselors of East Alabama. We are a nonprofit organization that I will kind of talk a little bit about later, but our topic for our Lunch and Learn this month is goal setting and visualization. Felt very apt considering, new year. Typically this is the time we see new goals being set and just talking about what that may look like from kind of a mental health perspective, things you can do with victims or clients, wherever you're coming from, or things, you can do with yourself individually. So if you do not know about us, again, we're a nonprofit. We provide free and confidential services to victims and survivors of sexual assault. We work in the counties of Lee, Macon, Chambers, Russell, Tallapoosa, and Randolph. So we kind of are one-stop shop of everything that a victim may need, or if we do not have that resource, we provide them with a referral to get it elsewhere. So whatever victims, their families, friends, whatever they may need, we are kind of there on the advocacy side. And then we do education type pieces too. So going into schools, doing bystander, that's KJ, our prevention education coordinator on here. That is her role. And then I work with specifically counseling victims. I have my clinical licensure in social work, so I'm able to provide free counseling for our victims and survivors. And then I do virtual events like this. So we do a lunch and learn the last Tuesday of every month from 12 to 1 Central. The topics are going to vary. I try to keep them timely of, kind of what's what's going on. But yeah, so that's a little bit about us. And then I'll tell you a tiny little bit more about me. So obviously I work with RCEA. I'm the ARP Counseling and Outreach Coordinator with Rape Counselors. I have been with Rape Counselors for it's 2025, 7 years now almost, which is crazy. I started as a volunteer and then whatever role there is, I've done it except for basically Amanda's. So kind of have been through the whole thing, been with the organization for a long time. Like I said, my role now is to provide counseling with my licensure and then doing a lot of the virtual outreach. That little orange creature there is Clover. She's actually a therapy dog in training. If you see a flash of orange hair through this meeting, she likes to come and sit on my lap. She's tiny, usually can't see her, but that is probably what that is. She likes to make her presence known sometimes. So let's just kind of get started talking about, what is a goal? And we're going to be talking a little bit more from the context of personal goals. I know that goal setting is often used in, businesses, work, that sort of thing, but we're going to be talking about a little bit more personally from the standpoint. So a goal is going to be an object of an ambition or effort or an aim or desired result. So it's what you want to achieve, right? It is something that you would like to work towards. Looking at this, with goal setting, obviously there are benefits. Otherwise, why would you push yourself, right? Why would you kind of change what's going on? So some of the benefits when looking up kind of research for this presentation that I saw was getting a sense of purpose, having a sense of achievement after, finishing the goal or working towards the goal, having a sort of accountability towards the goal, direction, where to go, focus, what to, really hone in on, intention and prioritization. I think that one's really important too, because if you sat any one person down at any time, there's probably 100 things that they would like to work on, right? That's just kind of how we are as humans, like that kind of strive for growth in lots of different areas. So having a goal is saying, okay, this goal right now is my priority, right? This is what I would like to work on. So having that, again, inherent focus on that one thing. Like I said, I'm going to ask some questions throughout. Feel free to unmute yourself. Feel free to put it in the chat. But I'm curious if anyone can think of any other benefits of goal setting or any positives to goal setting that you would like to share that I don't have mentioned on the screen.
I like what you said. It's a map of where you want to go. I thought that was really helpful.
So thanks for sharing, Dawn. Okay, we have a chat direction. Yes, exactly. Having a direction of what to focus on. Good. Anything else before we move on? Is there any certain one of these benefits that you feel speaks to you personally? I know, for me, when I'm setting a goal, achievement is a really big one for me, kind of having something to work towards, and then that feeling of achievement when you make little progresses towards it or when you complete it. I think that is a big motivator for me when I'm, setting goals and stuff. And I'm curious, is there anything on here that really speaks to you as far as your goal setting? Remember, y'all, I said I'm a therapist, so I can sit out silences, long silences. Seeing progression. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Deshayla. Purpose, as we earn goals and achieve them, realize what we're capable of. Yeah. Increased motivation leads to overall functioning. It's true. It's true. It's usually easier to function when you have a little bit more motivation too, Amanda. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Amanda is our victim services coordinator. She's not feeling great, so she's not going to have her camera on, but she is here today. She's graced us with her presence, even if sick. So we appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to move on, but something to think about, kind of what is your focus? What is one of your motivators? So talking about goals, they can seem very daunting, right? Where do I start? Where do I begin? And something that I like to do with clients, and I try to do fairly frequently, a few times a year, is to set up a specific goal planning session, something where we're talking about some short-term goals. For me, short-term is usually a few months, that kind of work towards their longer-term goals of therapy and deciding, what we want to focus on. In this, I start with something called SMART goals. Has anyone ever heard of SMART goals before? And you can either pop a yes or no, pop a hand up. I see some nodding. No. Okay. Yes. Okay, so some mixed responses here. So I like to use the model of SMART goals when I'm working with clients. I feel like it's kind of easy to understand and it gives us almost like an outline to follow. So with SMART goals, each letter stands for something different. So our S is our specific. We want the goal to really lay out what we want to do. I will kind of use this example because this is one I think we all hear a lot in the new year. People say, I want to start eating healthy. That is great and good and dandy and everything. But how specific is that, right? That can mean different things for different people. So looking at that one to make it more specific, I would argue something a little bit more like, I would like to start eating healthy by ... reducing sugar, increasing water intake, cutting out carbs, whatever that looks like to that individual person, right? So wanting to have it specific. The reason for this is if the goal is not specific, how do we know if we've met it? Right? That's very, subjective. So you could kind of look at it like that. Like if I'm able to say yes or no, I've met this goal. This also goes into our M, which is measurable. There needs to be either a quantifiable or way to say, okay, I met this, right? So is it frequency? Say you express a goal of, I would like to finish 10 books within a 6-month period. That's measurable, right? We have a number. You either hit the 10 books or you don't hit the 10 books. If you say, I want to read 15 pages a night, that is a everyday yes or no, 10 to 15 pages type thing. So having a way for you to be able to, again, say yes or no, this was met, their numbers, achievable. This is really important because with goals, the goal is to push yourself a little bit, right? Get out of your comfort zone, go a little further than you have been. But we don't want it to be so far that it's frustrating, it's intimidating, and there's really not a way you can meet it. And then that's not really satisfying, right? That's not going to give you that achievement accomplishment feeling. So making sure it's something that is achievable. If you are someone who has never done, I'll use this example because I started pottery classes this year. I have never done wheel pottery my entire life. It would be incredibly unachievable for me to say that by the end of the year, I was going to be an instructor for pottery, right? That's just not likely. And example of achievable. The next one is realistic or relevant. Kind of goes along with the achievable, it wouldn't be realistic for me to be a pottery instructor. Also, looking at my long-term goals for life, how relevant is that to my goals? Of course, there are great things such as hobbies, but I'm a therapist, so it's maybe not as relevant for me to have a goal as a pottery instructor. Maybe a more realistic goal for me would be have 3 good pieces that turn out during my course, right? So kind of looking at that one too, making sure that the goals you are setting fit with what you're trying to do long term. Um, Timely. This is a big one too. I think it's important that we set time frames for goals. When we're doing shorter term goals, this can be weeks, couple months. Longer term, you want to have a timeline for that. So you can set measurables throughout it. Again, the blank a month, the blank a week, ways to measure that. But also you don't want to leave it open-ended because then that doesn't give you a deadline to work towards. It doesn't kind of keep it within capacity. With my clients that I work with a lot of college students. And so I just go off of we call them semester goals. Whether you're in college, whether you're not in college, those goals are what we're going to work off of. It's for the springtime. So January through April, May-ish, usually just more April. These are our goals. And that is usually a lot more doable than long-term like New Year's resolutions. I think New Year's resolutions are awesome. I think they're a great way for you to gauge what happens during the year. Sometimes those can be things though for some people that the piece of paper gets put in a drawer and you don't remember it until December of the year, right? So sometimes those are not quite as smart. They don't follow in this model quite as well. Of course, if you had long-term goals that you do have working towards, okay, let's do some shorter term ones that'll help us. Your long-term goal is to be a pottery instructor, right? Maybe the first 4 months of the year, you focus on getting a set number of hours in the studio, things like that. So with our SMART goals, I would like for us to practice. I want everyone to whether pull out a piece of paper, type on your computer, in your mind, just make one. I want you to think of a goal that you would like to achieve, let's say in the next month. And I want it to follow, and I'm going to go back to this page so y'all have it, the SMART goal layout. So we want this goal to be specific, we want it to be measurable, we want it to be achievable, realistic and relevant, and timely. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to think of your goal, to make sure that it kind of fits within all these categories. You need to make notes of, kind of how it does. And then we'll come back together. And if whoever feels comfortable with this sharing, would love to hear your thoughts, but we will go ahead and get started on that. All right, take about a minute to finish up, and then we will come back to group and see if anyone's willing to share. Okay. So would anyone be willing to share the goal that they have set up for themselves, whether it's over the, speaking or chat?
Let's say my goal. Okay, so the goal that I have for myself is for by the end of this month, I want to at least go down a pant size. So to measure that, I'll be making sure with my clothes to see if they still fit the same.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Achievable, I want to be able to work out at least 3 times a week. That way it's not overworking myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can also cut down on like snacks, making sure I'm switching to eating healthier meals and eating to satisfy to not feel myself.
Nice. Okay, that's awesome. So you have, you know, very specific intentions with this. It is easy to quantify, right? Have I gone down a pant size? Yes or no, right? There's a number there to work off of. Um, and then it sounds like you even have like almost like little mini goals. Okay, this is how it's going to help me achieve this. I'm going to work out 3 times a week. I'm going to focus on eating, you said to satisfy, not to what?
Not to feel.
Not to feel. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing. That's a great one.
I can share mine.
Mm.
I'm a little under the weather, so excuse my voice. Mine is also weight related. I would like to lose 10 pounds by the end of February by changing my eating habits. Eating less carbs, no additional sugars or sodium. Exercising 30 minutes a day, morning, evening, or before bed, and also increasing my water intake.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Very specific, very measurable. Sounds like, achievable and within that 1 month time frame. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I don't know who said that because it didn't come up as
It
was
was
that
me, T.
oh, okay.
Gray.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Sorry it didn't show up because you don't have the video on. So I was like, I think that was her, but thank you again for being willing to share that. That was a great example. Shelby says, become more aware and knowledgeable of local resources to serve clients better. And I will do this by attending webinars, events that others put on, asking questions, and making notes of what I find. Awesome. Okay. So something related to your internship. I like to see it. Um, don't worry, we're going to start our SAM committee soon, so you will be brought right into some RCA knowledge there. But that is great, very, specific and understandable. All right. Anyone else care to share before we move on to the visualization piece of this presentation?
I chose 501(c)(3) because we're a new organization, and it's very easy to measure because I know my stress level will be completely dropped once I get this filed.
Yes.
But it also has a nice if you guys ever do one, the IRS has 2 videos that are very useful and so I'll sit there and pause it, do everything it says, and then or check everything. So and I think it is achievable. I think I'm pretty close to being done. So I'll know that it'll be done hopefully by the end of this week rather than the end of the month, but I'm so excited.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad. Well, first of all, I'm glad to hear that you're getting that in motion, but I think that that's a, great goal. And again, very measurable for you, right? Your stress will go down. And it sounds like it's very realistic and relevant to what, long-term goals are for you. So that's awesome. Glad to hear it. Okay. Anyone else? Well, we're going to move on to visualization. Of course, if you feel like sharing, we can definitely come back to these, but we practice, and now we're going to talk again about visualization. We're going to be talking about, I know you may have heard of the term data visualization, which is what came up a lot when I was Googling visualization. So that's a little bit more business and statistic mindset. I would assume, people in bigger corporations looking at data and accountants, those sort of things would do this. But this is actually a little bit more creative visualization and mental health focused. So we're going to be talking about it in the context of using imagery as kind of a manifestation tool, picturing what you want and do not want for your life. Same thing as when we discussed the goal setting. There are some benefits to visualization, right? Improved concentration, focusing on positive things, positivity. I don't know why that word did not want to come out. Stress relief. It's linked to self-confidence improving, mental health improving, and kind of giving you some motivation. And we're going to talk about some, examples of visualization in a little bit, but from what you know about visualization thus far, can you think of any other things that might be a benefit of it long-term of visualization, or, again, one of these that speaks to you as a benefit? I think for me, and I'll kind of get into this a little bit later, I like to do a vision board each year, and it definitely is something that I feel like gives me motivation and focus. It's something that I can look at, and I do look at. I keep it on my wall all year. It's kind of something that sets intentions, and it's been really helpful and also a really cool way for me to look back on the year and see, kind of what pieces of that visualization really stood out and came true. Does anyone have anything to add to this one outside of what I already have on here?
It's it's already on there, the self-confidence,
Mhm.
but just a visual, like, I know somebody mentioned like weight loss. Like I
Mhm.
have a collage of like pictures of me when I was smaller. So just looking at that gives me confidence and motivates me sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great example. And visualization, right? You can look at it and see this is the goal. Um, that kind of physical manifestation of that for sure. Good. Okay. Um, so I want to kind of talk about some ways that you can visualize. So imagining, we have an imagination for a reason, thinking of what you want to see differently. This is kind of the first step, right? And this is something that I talk to my clients about too. I'm like, okay, what do you want this relationship to look like? What do you want this life to look like? What do you want this role to look like? How does the new life look? How does the new you look? Or how does the change look? Asking yourself, what are you specifically missing or wanting? Is there anything specific that comes up? What could be a piece that would kind of help fill that? And then another way is to create. Using physical representations of your visualization, it can help you keep your focus and be reminded of what you want to see change. Like I talked about, vision board, that's a great one. As you know, I'm going through this, something that kind of really comes to mind is, and this may be my millennial showing, Pinterest. That is a great visualization tool, right? It's pictures, it's physical representations of things. I think there's a new app, I think it's called Lemonade, and it's similar, like having kind of those pictures and videos, those sorts of things, like right in front of your face that help you see that. You love Pinterest. Pinterest is still, to this day, probably been using it for 15 years at this point. Great, great tool. Definitely use it for all aspects of life, but it's nice to have those images. And then there's just also some benefit to positive imagery, right? I know for me, if I see a quote on Pinterest and I like it, I'll make it my background. And whether it's super conscious or just kind of subconscious, that's something that I'm kind of like seeing, whether that becomes an affirmation, whether that becomes just a reminder, again, kind of visual representation. The next one is practicing it, putting those goals into action, living the life you want to see happen around you. This makes me think of the quote, fake it till you make it, right? Sometimes you have to pretend that this is the life you have, or this is, the life that is happening, even if it's not, right? So you say you want to be someone more confident. Start pretending you have confidence, right? Start acting confident. And that can really be something that starts to then show up because practices become habits. So that is, one way. My clients and I have a favorite saying, even if you're doing something anxious, do it anxious, right? Even if you're sad, go do that thing, just do it sad. Recognizing the emotion that's coming with it, but still doing the thing anyways. So I just included this because this is one of my favorite pictures of my childhood dog. We're sitting outside. It is obviously overcast, but we are visualizing the sun in hopes that it appears, right? She did not know that she was posing for this caption, but after I took it, I said, this is perfect. So just, that kind of mindset. And I said, can you see it? Now we're going to talk a little bit about vision boards because I feel like this is something I feel like I'm seeing a lot on social media and stuff. I love vision boards. I think they're awesome. And something that I do and have a good amount of examples of because we've done like a client empowerment type group where we did vision boards together. So this is almost like the ultimate visualization, right? And love a vision board. It does not have to be a new year to create one. You can create one at any time, any stage of life. So this is usually a physical or digital manifestation of goals in life. I'm someone who, see, I think someone is unmuted. Okay, there we go. Typically I like to make one that's physical because I feel like I can see it, but you can also create a digital one and print it out. That works too. Just having it in front of you where you can see it. That's a big part. That's a big part of goals too, if I didn't mention that. I tell my clients, you want to make sure that you have them somewhere you can see them so that they're not forgotten, whether that's by the mirror, whether that's in your car, whether that's on your desk, whether that's, background of your phone or saved in a notes app on your phone, wherever you can see it to give you kind of having that reminder. When making a vision board, looking at what you could put on a vision board, specific goals, dreams, your values, remind you of those, some quotes you may like, inspirational pictures, things you're looking forward to, artistic expressions, aspirations, whatever speaks to you. I think one of the really great things about a vision board is that it is absolutely what you want. There are really no rules, right? What you want on it, what you want to visualize goes on it. Over the years, it's been really cool for me to see things that I put on there and didn't put too much thought into going on there, whether it was like a graphic and I said, oh, that looks pretty, or, a word that I was like, not really feeling at the moment, but was like, maybe this word will come true. And then seeing how that theme kind of played through the year. That's always been something really cool for me to see. So I wanted to give some examples of vision boards that we've had people create in the past. So this one, you can see that they have a quote here. They have boundaries on there, learning, spiritual growth, healing, laughing, reading, embrace being uncomfortable, keep moving. Then we have one that's a little bit more goal-centered, pickleball, reading more, doing well in the GRE, practicing his hair and skincare, some academic goals and yoga. And then we have this one, it's a scripture verse and they put their resolutions around it. This one I thought was really cool with the kind of world map around it and then the big unstoppable, braver words. And then I'm sure everyone has one of these. My overachiever sister did this one right here with completely huge and laid out, and she had resolutions, goals, song of the year, health goals. She made it look very aesthetic because she has an interior design degree, and that was really important to her. Finishing up her degree that year. She has a countdown of something, just all kinds of different cute little things. And this is a great way to have it to where you can see it, right? She made it usable. So when she goes to pick out jewelry, it's right there in front of her. And I think that was really cool. And it's also always nicer to have it up when it's something nice to look at. And then this is, again, that 2023. This is usually one of the ones that more I do. So this is actually mine from 2020. And for me, the easiest way for me to do these, because I'm not the most creative person, is to go on Pinterest and look up a bunch of quotes that I like and then add in some pictures of things that I want to see. So going to therapy, all of these quotes. I think that there's some more other ones. The one I did this year, like I said, I started doing pottery, so I have a wheel on it. I have a picture of someone reading a book on what looks like a European coast. I would like to go to Europe this year. I would like to read more this year. I put on there a picture of Snoopy going to the dentist because I need to make a dentist appointment. Just, little things like that are cute little reminders of things to do, want to do, my aspirations. So that was kind of that for the vision boards. Just wanted to use that as kind of like a real life example of a way that you could visualize. Again, there are so many other ways. It could be smaller ways. It could be, making a collage on your phone. It could be, I have a friend who does her vision board on Canva every year. She uses Canva graphics. She adds them all up and then she makes them her background on her computer and I think her iPad or whatever. And it was really cool because hers last year, she had making money. She kind of wanted a little bit more financial freedom than what she was having. And halfway through the year, she decided she was going to start a head spa company. So it was really cool to see kind of how that transpired for her throughout the year. So just some examples. Want to encourage you, if this is something that you think you'd be interested in, make a vision board. Especially our interns. I happen to know that we have a lot of materials next door. Because we did one a couple of years ago, and I think that we still have some left. So something fun to do, meet up, have a friend's night, do it. That's what I try to do every year. But yeah, so that's kind of the big basis of visualization and goal setting, but thought this would be a good topic to get started off the year at. And I don't think I shared this statistic, but it said that you are 50 times more likely to complete a goal if you just write it down. So already having the intention enough to write it down and keep it where you can see it already makes you that much closer to doing it. So I thought that that was really cool. So yeah, that is kind of all what I have for today. Wanted to see if anyone has any questions, any comments, anything, while we kind of have time here.
I really enjoyed this. I loved the creativity of the whole presentation with the little doodles and stuff. That just makes it fun and inspirational and lighthearted rather than let's get this done. It's fun. And I loved the presentation. So thank you so much for your hard work.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you for your kind words. Yeah, a presentation that's a little cuter to look at is way easier to get through than a boring screen for sure. We have a couple chat. And Ellis says, thank you for the presentation. T. Grave says, thank you. Awesome. Well, I'm going to leave this kind of up to you. I did finish a little early. We're going to say that that's intentional. Alex said, thank you. And that is so you can start thinking about goals and maybe some visualization pieces of your own. So with that, you are more than welcome to hop off. Seeing the vision boards is helpful too. Good. Okay, good. I'm glad. I like to, use those as examples when I can. I need to update it because they're a few years old, but great presentation. Thank you. Oh, y'all are so sweet. Thank you for your nice words. But yeah, so last 10, 13 minutes, I guess exactly. Feel free to stay on and hang out and work on vision boards. Feel free to hop off and work on yours. Feel free to hop off and do the job you need. Thank you, Tracy, for joining. I know you're in the middle of work, so I appreciate it. Thank you, Dawn. Yes, hoping those who are not feeling super great start feeling better. Absolutely up to y'all and what you want to do, but that is all for our presentation today. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you next Lunch and Learn. Amanda says that she is hoping to take some meds and get over the sickness. Yes, for sure. I know everything's going around right now. So, all right. Thanks, guys.